Tolakarn, friends and foes, and welcome to the 11th faction preview video for the mod DCI Last Alliance. I am Ngogi, team leader, and on behalf of the team, today we shall present the Kingdom of Lindon in the Last Alliance campaign. The faction leader is High King Gil-galad, the capital is Mithlond, and the population consists of Eldar. The strengths of the faction are first class heavy infantry and archers, while weaknesses are slow and costly recruitment and rare cavalry. If you are playing a campaign with a quest of the long kind, you are supposed to hold 35 regions and eliminate both Mordor and Orcs of the Misty Mountains, while if you play a short campaign quest, you will have to hold 20 regions while eliminating Mordor. Now, before we move on to the campaign map, we shall have a look per usual at the lore of this faction. The Elves awoke in the Far East at the dawn of the First Age. They were sundered when most decided to move west to go to Valinor across the sea. Three groups went west. The two of importance to us were the Noldor and the Teleri. When the Teleri came west to the Misty Mountains, some feared the dark heights and broke off. These are the Nandor Elves. As they spread into Eriador, they also became known as the Lindar Elves. The other Teleri went west to Beleriand, but again some broke off and did not cross the sea. Those who remained in Beleriand are known as the Sindar Elves. Meanwhile, the Noldor had crossed the sea to Valinor and lived with the godlike Valar. To make an epic story short, the original Dark Lord Morgoth had been defeated once by the Valar already and now lived in Valinor, pretending to repent his evil ways. Morgoth spread lies among the Noldor to break their friendship with the Valar. He then stole the three jewels known as the Silmarils, killed the Noldor king Finve, and returned to his minions, who hid in Middle-earth still. The new Noldor king, Fëanor, who had created the Silmarils, led most of his people back to Beleriand in Middle-earth to recapture the Silmarils and avenge his father. Underway, the Noldor split into factions, and in Beleriand they settled in several kingdoms, nominally under the High Kings, but in practice quite independent. They both allied with and came into conflict with the native Sindar Elves and Lindar Elves, but befriended the Edain, the forefathers of the Dunedain. Elves and men fought valiantly against Morgoth, but went into ruin. I suggest you read the Silmarillion for the full account. At the end of the First Age, Morgoth was defeated by the hosts of the Valar. This terrible war also caused Beleriand to break and sink under the sea. The surviving human Edain sailed to the island of Númenor, while those elves from Beleriand who wanted to remain in Middle-earth instead settled in Eriador. At the Gulf of Lune, the Noldor created the Kingdom of Lindon. The name is derived from the original Lindar inhabitants. The kingdom was ruled from Mithlond, the Grey Havens, by High King Gil-galad. Together with Celebrimbor, he was the last remaining direct descendant of Finve with a claim to the throne. The Lindar and the Sindar, including Cirdan, settled with the Noldor, and the kingdom therefore has a mingled population. The land between the mountains and the sea became Gil-galad's dominion. A part of the Noldor created the realm of Eregion in the 8th century, close to Khazad-dûm. While Eregion was quite independently governed by Celebrimbor, grandson to Fëanor, it was considered the eastern stronghold of Lindon. Also in the 8th century, the Dunedain of Númenor returned to Middle-earth. Gil-galad greeted them as friends and allies because he sensed there were a new shadow growing in the world. This new shadow was the evil spirit known as Sauron, who filled the void left by his defeated master, Morgoth. About the year 1200, Annatar appeared, presenting himself as a friendly advisor. This was in fact Sauron, who had taken a fair form and intended to enslave the elves. Gil-galad and his trusted kinsman Elrond distrusted Annatar and sent him away. Annatar was instead welcomed by the smiths in Eregion, who were hungry for the knowledge he could offer them. Annatar taught them how to make rings of power, but about the year 1600 he returned to Mordor and made the One Ring, by which he intended to mind control the elven lords. The elves then discovered it was Sauron and his plan, and removed the rings. The 3 most powerful rings Celebrimbor sent away, 2 of them to Gil-galad. Sauron attacked Eriador and captured 16 of the rings of power when he destroyed Eregion in 1697. A part of the survivors fled with Galadriel to Lothlorien. Others were saved by Elrond and his army, that retreated northwards and established the refuge of Imladris, also known as Rivendell. With the aid of Númenor, Sauron was defeated in the year 1700, but most of Eriador was devastated. Imladris was then made the eastern stronghold of Lindon under Elrond. Elrond was also made the vice-regent of Eriador, and Gil-galad gave him Vilja, the Blue Ring, to safeguard. During the following 1500 years, the Númenóreans and Elves drifted apart, as the Dunedain grew envious of immortality and considered Elves the spies of the Valar. Only the so-called Elf Friends, who more and more abandoned Númenor and settled in the northwest of Middle-earth, remained in contact with them. In 3262, Sauron surrendered to the might of Númenor and was brought to the island as a prisoner. This proved a devious deception, as Sauron in his fair form soon gained influence. He encouraged the Númenóreans' fall from grace and at end sent them to war with the Valar. That war resulted in the sinking of Númenor under the sea in 3319. Only the remaining elf friends, led by Elendil, survived the destruction of Númenor and sailed to their kinsmen in Middle-earth. Elendil befriended Gil-galad and founded Arnor, while Elendil's sons landed to the south and founded Gondor. Sauron is a spirit, however, and he was not destroyed in the destruction of Númenor. He returned to Mordor and in time wrought himself a new form, but now he was terrible to behold. Sauron found that the power of Gil-galad had grown great in the years of his absence. The Elven King's influence had passed beyond the Misty Mountains and the Great River, even to the borders of Greenwood the Great. Then Sauron withdrew to his fortress in the Black Land and mediated war. Mordor attacks Gondor and captures Minas Ithil. The only hope against Sauron now is an alliance between elves and men. And welcome to the strategy map. We are first greeted with a summary about what has been going on through the Second Age until this point of the game. We are given the usual options of activating the Balrog and or the Immortal Nazgul. I simply accept those in this case in order to move along and look at the first faction unique feature. And here we are giving the message a brother in arms. That is again referencing how the war has begun between Mordor and the Dunedain, and your good friend Elendil, High King of the Dunedain, is calling upon his friend and brother-in-arms Gil-galad, High King of the Noldor, in order to have council. And the point of it, the instructions are given at the end: bring Gil-galad to Annúminas in order to form that league which is known as the last alliance of elves and men. See his journal ancillary for details, meaning Gil-galad's ancillary. Now, Gil-galad going there do not make you allies. You are in fact starting as allied with the Númenórean Kingdoms. Instead, what bringing Gil-galad from his position to Annúminas in Arnor will enable you to have an offensive league, meaning that you will be able to call the Tolakaren, the counter invasions against the enemies of your factions. However, before we go deeper into this alliance quest, we shall have a look at our starting settlement and some area of recruitment features. So the starting settlement is Mithlond. Mithlond is a minor city with quite a few options to for construction. You are also, since this is the capital, being given here a faction capital building representing your rank of this settlement. This faction capital building will move with you in case you change what settlement is the capital, but it grants you the ability to recruit Lindon Spearmen. Lindon Spearmen is only available in the capital settlement in case you have enough culture, and however you can retrain them if you are in a settlement with big enough barracks. So you can only recruit them from the capital, wherever it is, but you can retrain in larger settlements with larger barracks. Can be good to know in order to keep them useful when you expand throughout Middle-earth. Another area of recruitment unit that is available in Mithlond when you start the game is from the port, the Eldar Mariners, who we will see likewise when we are checking out the roster at the end. But before the barrack event has occurred, the Eldar Mariners are available in the Grey Havens only and not elsewhere in the world. Example, we can look here at Forlond. It is only making the ships available, not the mariners, the soldiers themselves. Then, since we are looking at Forlond already, it is a large town and also having a port, and to the south we have Harelond, that is a minor city as well, also able to boost its buildings for a better economy quite early. And you should really use this capacity in order. Elosterion to the west here is not starting with a port, but as soon as it upgrades it can get that too. So this Gulf of Lune and the settlements around it are a hub for trade. You should spend time early on to make sure that you have a good economy, because while your units are very good, they also are costly to recruit and they have a significant upkeep to have in mind. So do not spend all your money early on recruiting and then get stuck in debt, is my good recommendation. Elosterion is just a town, but it has the Elosterion stone, the Palantiri, that was not able to look into Middle-earth, so you can't use it to spy around. It did only look west across the sea, but this means that you can get a special trait from it that we will look on in a while. The trait is gained by putting yourself by the white towers where the stone technically was positioned in. It wasn't in the settlement here itself. Standing here on the way west, as we will look at Woody End soon, we have a diplomat, Gilder, who is good to send north to the dwarves, for example, to establish trade. You already have trade and military access with the Númenórean Kingdoms, since they are your starting allies. Woody End is just a village, has nothing special as it starts, but you can increase farming for population growth and get a town watch for some recruitment capacity. Then over in the east we are looking at Imladris. Imladris is a fortress, so it is a military settlement, and that has some significant effects. But first we are looking at the special building, the last homely house, that grants you some public order due to happiness, and happiness is it do of course grant you some public order from happiness, but it also grants you some population growth. Now this is not common. Usually in military settlements you only have the farms that can boost population growth, but here you also have the last homely house. Now you can't upgrade Imladris, so it's not for that purpose. However, more population of course will grant you more income, so you want that certainly. The Imladris battle map can be noted is Leo's battle map, though with a tweak from our friend RK of Duck renown, so we send our thanks to him for the battle map tweak for better AI performance. Now, as we have gone through our settlements, there is one area of recruitment unit tied to the Imladris settlement as well, and that is from the Smiths building. If we are looking at the armorer, we are able to recruit the Smiths of Region. These melee soldiers are only recruitable in Imladris and also down at Ostin Edil, in case you capture that. But also if you somehow end up gaining control over Calas Galadon, you can also recruit them in this settlement. Now, as with the long spearmen, in case you have a large settlement with a large enough smithy building, you can retrain them elsewhere in the world. That will help them become more useful again as you expand out in Middle-earth. So recruitment only in a few places, but retrainable in many more. Now, as we are looking at our Vice-Regent, Elrond, Vice-Regent is the title for the heir. We can toss an eye at our family tree. And the family tree is created by Arandir Turanion, and we have actually cut that down quite a bit, so that here we only have direct forefathers or such characters who were high kings or kings before the current high king. Arandir will make a version of this tree available where he add more or less every known royal kinsman and kinswoman, but in order to not make the tree too unwieldy and try to focus on those who are more key characters, we have kept it to this slimmed down tree. Also, we have left out characters who are not given a name, so for example Gil-galad's mother, who was not named, is not included. Staying on Elrond here, we can go through his traits and ancillaries, and first in line we here have Vilja, the blue ring, the ring of air, and the ring do not have features on its own, but instead the effects are referring to the trait. And the trait is Elven Ring Unworn, since as long as Sauron has the one ring on him, the Elven lords and ladies could not use their rings, or Sauron might try to control them. So the ring only grants +2 in approval, boosting public order. However, if Sauron during a campaign loses his ring, you can put on, or rather the characters with a ring of power can start using their ring, and thus you would see the Elven Ring Worn trait that grants a lot of bonuses that are useful to someone in a settlement especially. Then we have the ancillary Eldar Royal Kin, referring to that Elrond was related both to the Sindar royalties and to the Noldor royalties. He himself preferred to be connected to the Sindar royal house, but people has not forgotten that he is also descendant of the Noldor family. And then he is the Lord of Imladris, granting him some command when defending and some popularity for public order. On the trait side, he has a biography that grants 8 hit points, a little command, some respect, a bit of loyalty and authority. He has a special ability for the battlefield, the power of the Eldar, granting great combat effectiveness, routing troops and locking morale. Has to be used with some care though, since it will make your units tired afterwards. This is the Valinor Behel trait that you get from the Elosterion Palantir, and it grants you tradition, line of sight and influence. Then finally worth pointing out here is that Elrond has the healing arts trait, and all elves gain that by default. However, it grants you +5 battle surgery that will help you recover and heal soldiers after a battle. However, if you are gaining traits that are very well, if you get like bloodthirsty or berserker, those kind of bloodthirsty traits, that will remove the healing arts, since in Tolkien's world the ability to heal was related to martial prowess, and if you would become bloodthirsty you would no longer be a good healer. So it's a trade-off. You will still get other bonuses, but you will lose the healing arts. Then to the west in Woody End we are having Gilder, and Gilder is having a biography that is granting him 2 hit points, 2 respect, 3 loyalty and 2 morale for all troops in battle. He is having one of only 2 mounted bodyguards that we will look closer on in the bodyguard section. He has the special ability Light of Elbereth that increases combat effectiveness and raises morale. He has the Advice is a Dangerous Gift trait, referring to his meeting with Frodo in Lord of the Rings. 1 respect, 1 tradition, but -1 in law. And he has the healing arts and other useful traits. Then over in Harelond we are looking at Glorfindel, a very great martial commander. He is having the ancillary first commander of the Noldorian armies, +2 command and +2 authority. His biography grants him 8 hit points, 2 command, 3 respect and 5 loyalty, and also 2 authority. He has the special ability Light of Aman, since he came back to Middle-earth not very long ago in the middle of the age. He was so recently in Aman that the Light of Aman is stronger in him. This decreases fatigue, greatly increases morale, slightly improves defense and rallies routing troops. Otherwise, he is generally a very good commander, and he is also a night fighter that you will have good use of. Then we have Círdan, and Círdan is a great governor. He is starting with the Red Ring Narya, and as with Elrond, that has the same. It will become better if you do not have to fear Sauron. He is also Lord of Midland, granting him +2 tradition, and tradition is good for income purposes in a settlement. His biography is giving him 6 hit points, 2 respect, 2 tradition and 2 loyalty. He is also having supreme will, and any unit with any general with a good level of will, of course, can use Palantiri in case you capture one of those. He has the special ability Power of Ulmo that improves defense and lower enemy morale. He has seen Valinor, has healing arts, and is likewise a night fighter. And finally, we are looking at our High King, Erainion Gil-galad. He has the ancillary for being the Noldor High King, granting authority and law. He has Aeglos, his spear, that grants respect and command when attacking, because against Aeglos none could stand. We have at this point the journal that instructs us to go to Numenas, and there we are going right now. He has a biography that grants 7 hit points, 2 command, 3 respect, 5 loyalty and 2 authority. He is having the trait Line of Finve. He has the special ability, same as Elrond has, Power of the Eldar. He despises Mordor, so in case you are fighting against Mordor, he get +1 command against them. Has supreme will for Palantiri use, and all in all, he's quite a great both battlefield commander and governor. So all of that shown, I will push forward and we will look at possible expansion after the AI has had their auto expansions at turn 2. To the north of our starting positions, we have the dwarves, and the dwarves will be interested in expanding north through the mountains, but if you are inclined to go this way, Lunelith and Uyal should be within your grasp if you are putting your mind to it. However, of course, you will then start to border the Hillmen of the North, so do have that in mind. To the south you can see Barad-dûm, and if you are playing the dwarves, this settlement will start in your possession. However, if you are playing as any other faction, Lindon included, this is a rebel settlement, so if you do want to, you can capture it and liberate the population from these rebel scums who are holding it right now. It do has a special building that is a dwarven mine, such called, and that is granting you a fine income, so would encourage you to liberate Barad-dûm as well. Now southward you also has Alimir, that is just a little village but has strategic significance. Over in the east you have Imladris. Of course, you are able to expand northwards as well as going southwards. Do be careful though, since you have a lot of border against the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. An advantage in Imladris is that since it is a fortress, you can construct all the military buildings from scratch, while civil settlements, cities and alike, do have to await the barrack event. But in castles and fortresses you can construct all kinds of military buildings from turn 1 onwards. So, as we have looked at that, let's jump ahead again and meet Gil-galad when he has spent time at the walls of Annúminas. Gil-galad has spent a turn outside Annúminas, and we are getting a second Brothers in Arms message that are giving us the story of how Elendil and Gil-galad take counsel together, and the point of it is that the planning is underway, and in a few years a herald will appear that can call Tolakarn, counter invasions. Now, if we are looking at the year, it's 3430, and so we are in proper chronological order with the creation of the League.
I would fight for your people as if they were my own, friend.
Gil-galad moved to Annúminas, and Elendil was in the city. It is so that Elendil will remain locked in the city of Annúminas if you play Lindon until you get Gil-galad to Annúminas. So if you do not want to hamper the Númenórean Kingdoms' ability to utilize Elendil as a general, then you should also get Gil-galad to Annúminas as fast as you can. Now we can get home, and as you see, we have lost the ancillary that is the journal. But now we can run away and do whatever we want with Gil-galad. We are simply awaiting the year 3434, when in lore the last alliance was moving out on the warpath. So I will take this opportunity and jump ahead, and we shall look at our herald, the agent that is able to call the Tolakarns. And welcome to the year 3434. We are then giving a message march against Sauron, that under the more immersive text inform you that Tolakarns against the followers of Sauron can now be called by the Númenóreans and the Kingdom of Lindon. And since we are playing as Lindon, we are informed that a Lindon herald has now appeared that will allow us to call the counter invasions. And the agent in question is this bloke here, who spawns next to the white towers, and he is having an ancillary military documents that grants him some extra personal security, and is having a trait Herald that informs you how he is able to invoke the Tolakarns. And how do this feature work? Well, those who have played, for example, the Third Age submod Moss know this quite well, but the Herald has the button Declare a Tolakar, and if you push it, as with invasions for the evil factions, you get a list of potential targets for the counter invasion. Now, as some keen-eyed people already see here, we have of course evil options here at the top, but then it's followed by the dwarves and rebels. This is since they are not having your culture. Your culture is of course the hosts of the West culture. Now the AI cannot call Tolakarns against any other faction than evil factions. You as a player, if you are feeling wicked, of course, can call it upon non-followers of Sauron factions. But the intent is, of course, to call it upon the evil factions, not upon those who are neutral or of other alignment than yourself. But again, rest assured, the AI cannot call it upon dwarves or alike. So what would happen here is that you pick a target that you feel is of concern for you. For example, Minas Ithil, the city that became known as Minas Morgul in the Third Age, is a potential target. Just for the fun of it, let's pick that and try to aid the Dunedain against the attackers of Mordor. And by doing this, we are giving a message that the Tolakarn has been invoked against Minas Ithil, and by whom. Then we must create an Acorn army within 10 turns to join the Akarn. And if we are taking Gil-galad here, for example, I made him ready. He can now push the little button join the Tolakar. And doing this, yes, we are not already in war, but of course we want to get into war. Then there are volunteers, so they are called, special counter-invasion mercenaries, who we can recruit to make this expedition successful. Above the army that has joined, we now see a star of Eärendil, and likewise all the cards, the unit cards, is getting this little star as well. And just as with an invasion force, the army now can move a lot further than they could did they not join. Also, in case we are participating in the actual battles liberating the target, if that is successful, we will get traits. So, glad to show you all of that. We shall toss an eye on the strat map models, and then on the bodyguards and generals on the battlefield, and ending up with the roster. First out is the Herald, who is created by Louis Lux, aka Van Lewis, and has been prepared for in-game use by our latest member, Celtic Magister, better known as Augustus Nocturnis of Dragon Age Total War fame. The model
We will plan our assault from here.
is having a palette in blue or violet,
On my way.
but in case you are having an Elven Herald playing as either Lothlorien or Eringallen, then you will have models that are in a green shade befitting those factions. Now, the two gentlemen I just described are the craftsmen behind our strategy map models, and we will go through them one by one. First in line is the captain, who, as you can see, is having a male hood. He is looking as his battle map counterpart, as you will see at end. And next to him is the general model, and these two gentlemen are created by Louis Lux. Next to them stands Cirdan, and Cirdan is created here by Augustus Nocturnis, and is based on the Cirdan model as shown in the recent preview by Araval. And then we have Glorfindel, the golden prince in a more shining armor, As you will have seen both from the preview and later on in the video, he is having a much more shining outfit than his usual countryman. Next to him is Gilder, and as you might remember from the preview, and like his portrait, he is having a hood over his hair here, but the model is based on the battle map outfit. Also made by Augustus Nocturnus, while these last two gentlemen are also crafted by Louis Lux. Elrond is having the movie armor as in battle, a little bit of green hair and slightly different other outfit details. He is having a sword, as are all the others except for our High King Gil-galad, who is of course having his famous spear, and if we put him on the side here we can see that he is wielding Aeglos in hand. First in line we have the generic general model created by Louis Lux, and next to him is the generic bodyguard as created by Curufin, and the generic bodyguard is named the Noldor Bodyguard. These excellent swordsmen are having an attack of 16 with a charge bonus of 6, so they can be quite devastating. They are having a total defense of 31 with 13 in armor, 5 defense and 13 shield and block due to their large shields that they are wielding in battle. They also have straight blades that I know a few of our more lore friendly followers will appreciate. Behind the generic bodyguards we meet our first custom model. Here we have Gilder, and Gilder is mounted. He has an Eriador company as his bodyguard. They have a melee attack of 7, but of course it is their capacity to ride around shooting arrows, 6 damage for that are their favored way of making battle. They have a total defense of 11 with 7 armor, 4 defense and 0 shield and block. The model, as you might see, is the one made for and used in 3rd Age Total War. Behind Gilder we meet Ciran, who is having his long beard, a unique feature of his, and he is made by Araval as seen in an earlier preview. Here we can have a closer look at the bodyguard that is created by Arioria of Mithlond. We thank him for the use. The bodyguard has been slightly tweaked with shields and weapons by Araval, but these veterans who are Falatrim bodyguards is quite potent as well. They have 14 attack, 5 charge bonus, 24 in total defense with 12 armor, 4 defense skill and 8 shield and block. Behind them is the second mounted general unit. Here we encounter Gilder himself, and he is known as having the golden armor, even in comparison to the brazen armor of the otherwise shining army. And he is having the green color of his ancient house from back from the days of Gondolin. These mounted knights are having a powerful charge. They have 10 attack and 10 charge, making them very capable of wreaking havoc in enemy lines. And since they have a total of 28 defense with 12 armor, 5 defense and 11 shield and block, having large shields while charging, they can survive close encounters much better than most cavalry units within the game. The Bodyguard is likewise created by Arioria of Mithlond. Then behind them we have the Archer Bodyguard of Elrond, and these archers are having a missile attack of 6, but they have very good accuracy and very good range, so that counts for more than one might expect. They have a melee attack of 12, that together with an 18 in total defense, 12 armor, 6 defense, makes them quite capable of holding their own if attacked in melee. And with them is the general model created by Louis Lux, as seen in the latest preview. And finally at the back we are looking at Gil-galad having his renowned spear, and also a bit different because you can see that it's quite blue on the shield here, and the shield of Gil-galad himself is going more in a silver tone to heed lore, as we were getting feedback on in his preview. Not a complete silver appearance, but it is silver aligned, so we are keeping a middle path between movies and books in this visual case. And of course our great High King is accompanied by a custom bodyguard, likewise created by Ariora and then tweaked by Araval to do well in battle. These guys have 17 attack with 6 charge bonus, 33 in total defense with 13 armor, 7 defense and 13 shield and block, so they will keep their lord safe. All these gentlemen shown, let's move on and look at the roster of the Army of Lindon. So we are in battle. In the first line we are looking at the Lindar infantry, the basic infantry unit that you have available, and these blokes, who are created by Curufin, are as spearmen having a bonus against cavalry. Also, in difference to their more heavily armored companions in the rest of the roster, they are expert at hiding in woods, which you may make use of for ambushes and the like. They are having an attack of 6 and a charge bonus of 5, which is quite generic, slightly better than usual. However, they have a total defense of 15 with 6 armor, defense skill of 3 and shield and block of 6. This properly makes them a medium infantry unit, so they're quite heavy for the first level unit that you can field for any faction. However, of course, all units cost as much as they taste, so they will also tax your economy a bit. As all elven units, they are most available in forest. The exception is the special mariners, who are available at the coast, and smiths, and likewise the long spearmen, who are next in line. They are wielding their long spears, giving them the ability to form a spear wall, which is very efficient. They are of course having a bonus fighting cavalry. Their attack is 4, which may seem a bit little, but due to their formation they are very efficient when fighting using the formation. Also, they are having a total defense of 13 with 6 armor, 4 defense and 3 shield and block. Do note that the formation should make it possible for them to avoid getting hit, but protect their flanks, because otherwise they will have some issues. Next unit by Curufin is the Eldar Mariners, and these gentlemen are having a melee attack of 10. However, before they are engaging melee, they will throw javelins at their foes and have 8 attack there, so do not miss out on the opportunity to decimate the enemy before you have to enter melee. They are having a total defense of 19 with 6 armor, 6 defense and 7 shield and block. So they can handle quite a lot of lighter and medium foes. However, they are not supposed to fight the most heavy of opponents, of course. That task is better suited for our first real heavy infantry unit. We are looking at the Sindar Swordsmen, also created by Curufin. These guys have wield sword and shield, are having 10 attack, 5 charge bonus, 22 in total defense with 12 armor, 2 defense skill and 8 shield and block. Per usual, shield and block is more efficient from the front and only half to the sides, so preferably they should always fight an enemy straight ahead as well. They should preferably avoid enemies with armor piercing ability, though they are quite capable to survive most encounters otherwise. They are only 126 men in a unit, and also even the basic unit is only 138 at huge setting, so these units are relatively small compared to their enemies, but that is how they balance up, because one-on-one they are very much better, but the enemies can counter that with larger numericals. So have that in mind. I can also at this point note that the images, the info images, are made by Ex-Holy Crusader, unless I point out some exceptions. And concerning the unit cards, as we see here, in case they are not vanilla Third Age cards, as you might recognize, they are made by Araval. The exceptions are the spearmen and the archers that are made by our member Misted. Now, leaving the early infantry units, we are looking at our first missile unit. These light bowmen, the Lindar archers, are made by Curufin and edited by Araval. They are having a 5 missile attack, as all elven archers. They are having a good accuracy and quite good range. However, they only have 4 in total defense with 1 in armor and 3 in defense skill, so they should avoid melee encounters. However, they have 2 upgrade levels in the arm from the smithies, so they will end up with 3 armor at best, and then their visuals will also be with chainmail, so not only the leather armor. If you improve your archery ranges, then you can field the Sindar Bowmen. And the Cinder Bowmen have better attack with 6 in missile attack, and they have a much better total defense with 10 armor, 3 defense skill, and they have a decent melee capacity as well. They are a clearly improved unit compared to their Lindar archers, however slightly smaller in size, 111 compared to 121 soldiers. Then the first cavalry unit that you can field is the Eldar Horse Archers. They have a missile attack of 5, melee attack of 6, and a total defense of 11 with 7-4 in their defense. They of course want to move around the battlefield and harassing the enemy, keeping safe at a distance. They should engage melee only if they can attack in the back or if they can hunt down fleeing enemies. However, with 7 in armor they can survive both some melee and missile attacks directed at them. Then we have another model from Third Age by Louis Lux in Origin. We have the Noldor Spearmen, and the Noldor Spearmen can make a shield wall, of course having bonus versus cavalry. They have an attack of 13 with a charge bonus of 6, total defense of 31, so they are very much the anvil to your hammer. They have an armor of 13 for defense and 14 shield and block, so they will take a beating very well. Then next to them are the famous from the Lord of the Ring intro swordsmen. The Noldor Swordsmen are quite unique in the game. They are wielding a two-handed sword. They are having a 16 attack with 7 charge bonus. They have 24 total defense with 13 armor, 9 defense skill, and 2 shield and block. They are, and this is thus significant, with their quite large defense skill for such heavy armor, they can handle enemy forces that are using armor piercing quite well. They are not totally reliant on their armor, but will be able to use their defense skill to survive armor piercing units as well. Then we have the Smiths of Radium, and the Radium Smiths are effective against armor since they are wielding enchanted hammers, and they are having an attack of 16, armor piercing to that, charge bonus of 7, 25 in total defense, 13 armor, 4 defense and 8 shield and block. You want to throw these as an offensive unit. They can of course hold a line very well, but presumably you want to send them to take out, say, a unit of trolls or something alike that is very heavily armored, so that you utilize their capacity as best as possible. The Noldor Archers, the best the faction can field, long-range missiles in the manner that they are having the best range and the best accuracy of any of the recruitable archer units. They have a melee attack of 8, a missile attack of 6, and they have a total defense of 18 with 12 armor and 6 defense skills, so they can survive attacks as well as the Sindar equivalent. Cinder Bowmen, they are only 111, so they are not that many, but they compensate for their numerical disadvantage with a quality advantage. And behind them we are looking at the Eldar Roken, the Eldar Knights, and these are having an 8 attack, 10 charge, and a total defense of 27 with 12 armor, 4 defense and 11 shield and block, wielding large shields in their charge. They are more than capable of bringing down vast numbers of enemies, but despite their high armor, I would recommend that you try to cycle charge with them rather than send them into a blob of enemies and have them standing still there. Utilize their charge bonus as much as you can. And finally, the Bodyguard. While we have already looked at them, I just wanted you to see the captain model in play as we promised earlier.